Hello. In this video, I will review TwisterPro Scalper EA MT5, a scalping EA designed for XAUUSD. This EA was developed by Jorge Luis Guimarães de Araújo Dias, and its forward performance is publicly available on MQL5. In this review, I will look at the public forward test results, my own XAUUSD backtest covering about 20 years, and the trade history chart from the forward account to analyze the EA's characteristics and risks. Please note that this review is based on the information available as of April 26, 2026. The EA's performance and risk characteristics may change in the future. First, let's look at the forward test performance. At this stage, TwisterPro Scalper has shown about 64% growth since the start of 2026. The live period is about 9 weeks. The number of trades is 26. The win rate is 88.46%. The profit factor is 27.56. Looking only at the numbers, this EA has made a very strong start. However, the important point is that the live period is still short. With only 9 weeks and 26 trades, it is still too early to judge whether this EA can remain stable over the long term. A strong short-term result is, of course, a positive sign. However, when evaluating an EA, we need to see how it performs over a longer period with more trades and across different market conditions. At this stage, the start is promising, but more time is needed before making a final judgment. Next, let's look at one of the main characteristics of this EA. TwisterPro Scalper is a very tight scalping EA. In the forward test, the average holding time is only 1 minute. In other words, this is not an EA that holds positions for a long time to capture large market trends. It is a type of EA that tries to capture small price movements in a very short period of time. The basic idea is simple. It waits for a setup, enters the market, captures a small move, and exits quickly. With this type of EA, even if the logic looks good, actual live performance can be strongly affected by the broker environment. In particular, spreads, slippage, execution speed, and VPS distance can have a major impact on the results. Even with the same entry signal, if the execution environment is good, a small profit may remain. However, if the spread widens, slippage occurs, or execution is delayed, that small edge may disappear. This is one of the biggest points to watch with tight scalping EAs. For an EA with small profit targets, even a small difference in trading costs can become very important. After subtracting the spread, slippage, and commission, the profit that should have existed may almost disappear. XAUUSD, in particular, can vary significantly depending on the broker in terms of spread and execution quality. Therefore, you should not assume that you can reproduce the same results as the public forward test with your own broker. Gold moves fast, and it can make large moves in a very short period of time. It can also move sharply due to economic news or geopolitical events. In those situations, spread widening and slippage are more likely to occur. For XAUUSD scalping EAs, the broker's execution environment is just as important as the logic itself. Next, let's look at the backtest results. For verification, I conducted my own backtest. The test period was from January 1, 2005 to April 25, 2026. The symbol was XAUUSD. The initial balance was $10,000. The lot size was fixed at 0.01 lots. The settings were left at the default values. The spread was set to 60 points. In the backtest, the balance curve generally moved upward over a period of about 20 years. With a fixed lot size of 0.01, the total net profit was $919.44. The total number of trades was 914. The win rate was 90.59%. The profit factor was 2.46. The fact that the EA showed an upward curve in a long-term backtest of about 20 years is definitely a positive point. However, because this test used a fixed 0.01 lot size, I will mainly look at drawdown in absolute dollar terms, rather than as a percentage. The maximum equity drawdown was $47.38. The maximum balance drawdown was $39.41. For a fixed 0.01 lot backtest, the risk per trade appears relatively controlled. On the other hand, the profit amount is not very large either. If the lot size is increased, the profit amount will increase, but the absolute drawdown will also increase accordingly. Next, let's look at the risk-reward balance. TwisterPro Scalper is an EA with a very high win rate. In the backtest, the win rate was 90.59%. In the forward test, the win rate was 88.46%. However, When we look at the average profit and average loss, there is an important point to note. In the backtest, the average profit was $1.87. The average loss was minus $7.33. In other words, the average loss was about 4 times larger than the average profit. This EA builds up small profits with a high win rate, but when it loses, the loss tends to be larger than the average winning trade. A high win rate does not automatically mean that an EA is safe. Even if the win rate is high, if the profit-loss balance is poor, a small number of losing trades can reduce the profits built up from many winning trades. Next, let's look at trading frequency. TwisterPro Scalper is a scalping EA, but it does not appear to trade constantly. In the backtest, there were 914 trades over about 20 years. In the forward test, the trading frequency was about 4 trades per week. So this EA closes trades quickly, but it is not a high-frequency EA that constantly opens and closes positions. It is more natural to view it as a selective scalping EA that enters only when the conditions match. Next, let's check the forward trade history. In this chart, the white arrows show buy trades, and the red arrows show sell trades. From what we can see, there is no sign of heavily adding positions in the same direction. The lot size also does not appear to change significantly. At least based on the current forward trade history, there are no clear signs of grid or martingale behavior. This is a major positive point when evaluating this EA. Grid and martingale EAs can sometimes create very smooth profit curves in the short term. However, when the market moves strongly in one direction, they can keep adding positions and lead to large losses. For TwisterPro Scalper, based on the current trade history and backtest results, it doesn't look like that kind of collapse-prone structure. However, this does not guarantee future safety. It is only a judgment based on the currently visible history. We should also pay attention to the difference between backtesting and live trading. In a backtest, the EA is tested using historical price data and a configured spread. In live trading, however, spread widening, slippage, execution delays, and changing liquidity can all occur. This difference can have a major impact, especially for scalping EAs. A good backtest is important, but whether the result can be reproduced in live trading is a separate issue. Even with the same logic, different execution environments can lead to different results. Finally, let's summarize the overall evaluation. TwisterPro Scalper is a very interesting XAUUSD scalping EA at this stage. The positive points are that the current forward results are strong. The roughly 20-year backtest also shows an upward curve. The win rate is very high. And at this stage, there are no clear signs of grid or martingale behavior. On the other hand, the caution points are also clear. The forward test period is still short. The number of trades is still limited. The average holding time is very short, at only 1 minute, so the EA is likely to be affected by the broker environment. Also, the average loss is larger than the average profit, so the risk-reward balance is not favorable. The biggest point with this EA is reproducibility. If you can run it in an environment similar to the public forward account, it may be able to produce good results. However, with a broker that has different spreads, slippage, or execution speed, the results may change. This point cannot be ignored, especially for short-term XAUUSD scalping. In conclusion, TwisterPro Scalper is a promising EA at this stage. However, the forward period is still short, and there is also the reproducibility risk that comes with short-term scalping. So my current evaluation is that this EA has made a very strong start. But I would like to see more forward validation before judging its long-term stability. Past performance and backtest results do not guarantee future profits. Especially with scalping EAs, it is extremely important to check how well the results can be reproduced in your own broker environment.